So once again, I'm Jude, and here's Wes from Petty Pumpkins, and we're back in ranking this time Best Supporting Actor and Best Supporting Actress nominees of 2021. How are you doing there, Wes?
I am doing so great. I'm so excited to talk about these nominees again. Last time we had a really good time.
Yeah,
And I feel like this is, a pretty interesting group of nominees overall to talk about.
yeah.
Maybe not the strongest ever, but at least interesting for the most part.
So we'll start with I don't know how to pronounce his name. Is it Ciaran Hines?
I think it's Kieran. I don't
Okay,
know.
it's okay. Let's just name him the Belfast Grandpa.
That guy
Okay.
from Belfast.
Belfast is actually uh a pretty interesting picture for me because as much as I appreciate movies set in a classic period, black and white stuff, it's very artistically and aesthetically shot, but at the same time, I think it's more of style over substance. There's not much story to tell about this group of family living in Belfast during the late 1960s. What's your take about the film?
I honestly do like Belfast. I don't
Mhm.
think that it is the best picture of the year necessarily, but I also don't think that it, really deserves all the hate that it kind of seems to be getting.
Yeah,
I think it's fine. I watched it once. I don't feel like I necessarily ever need to watch it again,
yeah,
but I enjoyed my 90 minutes with the movie.
yeah.
So like I would say it's like a middle tier best
Mhm.
picture, nominee. If it wins, it definitely won't be the best picture ever, but I don't think it would be the worst either.
Mhm.
So, I'm in the middle. Like you said, style over substance for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So speaking of Belfast Grandpa, for some reason, the Academy is fond of putting old white males, usually grandpas or father figures that, share a lot of wisdom or experiences in life. Like what we discussed in Will Smith's performance, we have to have a different interpretation, a different flavor, a different attack for this type of character. And I don't think that the actor really brought something new to the table or to the character. Like he's fine. He's a good he's an entertaining grandpa as expected. Like he shares a lot of lessons and wisdom, but at the end of the movie, that's pretty much it. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think that he is, perfectly lovely
Mhm.
in every way. I don't have anything bad to say about the performance necessarily. But the thing is, I saw Belfast in November, which is what, 3 months ago, and I don't really remember very much of his performance at all. Out of the five nominees in this category, his is the one that stands out to me the least. Um, you know, I I don't know. Like I remember thinking that he was really sweet and lovely, and I remember like I have flashing images of him in my head from this movie, but I can't even really remember any specific moments with him other than one in the hospital.
Yeah.
So, he's fine, like he's fine, but this is, not the strongest performance I've ever seen.
So personally, I don't think he had potential because the role is paper thin. So this is between not our fave and Y Academy. Why? What about you?
Yeah. I mean, I guess I would say not our fave. I don't
Okay,
think that he really deserves to be in the bottom.
me too.
Um,
It's not a
you
horrible
know,
performance. Yeah, yeah.
no. I wasn't cringing or anything.
Okay.
But I think you're right. I don't think that his character really had anywhere to go or much to ever do with this movie. Like I think you'd really have to kind of change the plot to make his character matter more within the realm of the story. So I don't know
Yeah.
that you could even say he had potential.
Not our fave is fine for him.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
All right. Go to Troy Kotsur and Coda. What do you think about Coda and Troy Kotsur in it?
So I love Coda. I think that it's just such a lovely, just like a warm film that makes you feel just all warm and fuzzy on the inside after you're done, which sometimes that's what you need from a best picture movie.
Yeah.
I feel like so many of them are just like bleak and sad, and so I think Coda kind of stands out in that way. But I really, really enjoyed Coda. I'm really glad that it's getting the recognition that it deserves and that it did end up as a Best Picture nominee, because it totally deserves it. And I think that Troy is a huge part of why that movie is so good and is being so well received right now.
Mhm.
I feel like he just brings so much heart to the movie, and he's just able to like say so much just with his facial expressions. It really is a marvel to watch how easily he can communicate. I don't know. I just think that he's amazing. I think that he's one of the best performances of last year by far. And his
Mhm.
performance is one that I don't think I'll ever forget.
Yeah,
Opposite of
yeah.
Kieran Hines, this is a performance that I'll probably remember for the rest of my life. So I really, really, really loved Troy Kotsur and Coda. What did you think?
In addition to what you said about Coda, I also feel like this is an unusual but at the same time a great choice by the Academy because not a lot of movies about the deaf community are being featured, and I think the film is really respectable and at the same time very enjoyable, heartwarming, poignant. I didn't expect that I would cry like twice or thrice in the movie, even though the plot is nothing really that exceptional or extraordinary. This is the kind of film in which it's more up to the performances, and I think the lead is spectacular. Don't you think?
Yes, I love her so much. I think that she is going to have a really, really strong showing in her career, especially now that Coda is getting so much recognition. I
Yes.
think that she hopefully is going to blow up. Her name's Amelia Jones. I think that
Mhm.
she is truly a star,
Mhm. This is
and
her
I'm really
breakthrough.
excited for her. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
like her big moment, and
Mhm.
I was extremely impressed. I would have, probably been more fine with her getting a Best Actress nomination than some of the people who did. I would have loved to see
Yes.
her show up in that category.
She deserved
But
it.
yeah, hopefully, yeah, she 100% deserved it in my opinion.
Mhm.
So I'm really looking forward to see more from her.
In addition to Emilia, I think she's also supported by a very strong supporting cast. Like we have Marley Matlin, who I think should have gotten a nomination as well for supporting actress, and the brother as well, and also the one who played her love interest as well as her teacher, singing mentor.
Yes, her teacher. Yes, yes, yes.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. But
Everyone was so
yeah,
good.
everyone is so good in their parts. Even though the sole focus is on the lead, I think the movie devotes as much as time to the each of the supporting character. This is one advantage Troy Kotsur and later Kodi Smit-McPhee have compared to the other nominees. The screen time, the devotion to their character, and at the same time, it gave them a lot to do. So Troy, as the father, we see him having troubles with his job in the fishing industry, and at the same time, he's having troubles. Well, not really a trouble, but more of a concern about his daughter. Rather, I mean, she's leaving the family without him. So probably it's her first time exploring her own journey and her own life without them. And it's probably hard for them to cope up without her because she acts as the translator to the family and to the business, right? So I think Troy Kotsur is really brilliant in balancing the comedic and dramatic aspects of the film. And also, what I love about his performance is that it really depends on how much emotions he can inject in a certain scene. He injects a lot, sometimes very complicated emotions in one single moment, and I love that. It's again, it's an unusual nomination, but a well-deserved one. What do you think?
I think that I definitely agree with what you said that he has the perfect balance of comedy and drama. I think that there are a lot of performances that sometimes it's a little easy to sway or lean too much into one aspect, but I think that he really is able to toe the line. One minute he is making you laugh, which I don't really laugh out loud in movies. I'm more of just a enjoyer on the inside, I don't really
Yeah,
laugh out
yeah.
loud. And but then the next minute he has you crying, and I think that that just is really a testament to how powerful of a performance this is. So yeah, I really, really loved him so much in this movie.
And because we love Troy in this movie, I think he has a great competition with one of the nominees. So as much as we love him, I think he's Lace.
Yeah, I agree with Slays.
Okay. All right. So next we have Jesse Plemons. Because we already discussed the power of the dog, what do you think about Jesse Plemons as an actor and his performance in the power of the dog?
So I have loved Jesse Plemons going back to high school when I used to be obsessed with watching Friday Night Lights. I love that show. By the way, amazing show. If you've never seen it, go watch it.
I haven't yet.
It's so good, and Jesse is so good in it. I There is an amazing cast on Friday Night Lights, and it's just a lot of kind of supporting characters that are following obviously the main family. But everyone is such a good performer, but he sticks out. His character Landry is one of the most memorable characters of the whole show, and a show full of amazingly memorable characters. So I think that says a lot about him first off. So Jesse Plemons has been on my radar for a long time, and I'm so glad that he is finally getting the recognition that he deserves.
Yes. After so many years.
It's interesting. After so many years, the Academy is finally noticing Jesse Plemons, and thank God for that, because I've just been such a fan for a long time, and he's done so much work. I think that he's kind of been around for such a long time, giving really solid performances, but never getting as much credit as he deserves.
Yeah.
And so, hopefully that will change now that he kind of got his foot in the door with the Academy. But as far as his performance in The Power of the Dog, I honestly think that this is a really great performance. I rewatched this movie the other day. It was my fourth time watching it, and I had just watched it to pay very close attention to the acting and pay attention to the nominees. And when you really are paying attention to Jesse Plemons in this movie, he is giving so much. It's understated and it's subtle, but I was actually so moved by him this time around that I watched this movie, especially in that scene where he takes Rose and they're on the picnic outside, and he is telling her that he is so tired of being lonely and it feels so good to not be lonely anymore.
And when they dance
and they're dancing,
the hills, yes,
it is so, the chemistry between them. Obviously, they're married, so it makes sense that the chemistry between them is so strong.
Yeah.
But I feel like he's just giving off this very sweet, just really nice performance. Very genuine, very heartfelt, and I feel like a lot of actors can't reach that form of sincerity the way that Jesse Plemons can and does in this movie.
I 100% agree about everything what you said about him. He's a great character actor. He's been relegated for a long time in the supporting role. He's always a sidekick. He can be the villain. Just like Nicole Kidman, he can be in comedies, he can be in thrillers, he can be in
everything.
Dramas. Yeah, but The Power of the Dog is one exception, because as much as he is good in it, the movie isn't interested about him. So however good Jesse Plemons as an actor, I don't think he really shined compared to his fellow co-stars. But, he's a good character. He is the one that can balance or can tolerate Phil's outburst, but at the same time, he can also understand where Rose is coming from. But what makes me sad about Jesse here is that he wasn't allowed to participate in the final act. It's like he's just reunited with Rose and that's it.
Yeah, he does lose his agency.
Most of his screen time is packed in the first and second thirds of the film. And in the third, even though he reappears, he doesn't have much of an impact compared to the first 2/3 of the film. Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. And the thing is, I feel like it's, Jesse is really doing more than most actors probably could with this part. I don't think that a lot of actors could have probably gotten an Oscar nomination for this role. But I think it's just the role itself just doesn't lend itself to shining as bright as the other three parts. Because we kind of, we really go on a very specific journey with all three of them. And he is kind of off to the side. We don't really get as much of an arc with him. He's just there more to be kind of the equalizer and the neutral, soft person to Phil's, red
Exactly.
heat.
You nailed that one.
So, I love him so much, but I understand even the people who are saying that he shouldn't have gotten a nomination. Personally, I'm fine with the nomination, but I understand, the concerns. So I love him so much, but I
Yeah.
understand that he's not the most exciting or the most standout performance of this category.
So as much as we both adore Jesse Plemons, I think he belongs to had potential, don't you think?
Hmm.
Yeah,
I
because
agree.
had he been part of the main action or had been a catalyst in it or whatsoever, he would have made it to the Slays part. But
Hmm.
unfortunately, he didn't. So he had potential. And let's go to his co-star and co-nominee, Kodi Smit-McPhee.
So it's no secret, I love The Power of the Dog. I think it's such an amazing movie. If it wasn't for Spencer, it would have been my favorite movie of 2021. But Kodi Smit-McPhee's performance is far and away probably my favorite performance of 2021 besides Kristen Stewart. Definitely my favorite male performance of 2021. And it's just because
Yes.
Peter is such an interesting character. He really presents himself one way, but it's clear that there's so much more on the inside than what, he's
Yes.
letting on, which we see by the end of the movie. Obviously, the whole thing is that Phil, considers him weak and a sissy and, not capable of taking care of his family. But Peter is just so smart, and Peter knows what he's capable of. And so instead of reacting or, trying to prove anyone wrong, he just is himself because he knows ultimately that's going to be enough. And it is. And that's why I think that this is such just a great character, first off. And I think that Kodi Smit-McPhee gives an amazingly subtle performance,
Yes.
where when you go back and rewatch, you can see like little things that he's doing to show, how smart Peter really is. But I don't know. I love this character so much. I just relate to Peter a lot, so maybe that's
Me too.
why.
Mhm.
I just think that Peter's a great character, and I think that Kodi is the perfect choice. I don't think that anyone could have played Peter the way that Kodi did, and it would have never been as good.
Yeah, I really felt for him during the scene wherein he was assisting his mother, but then Phil insulted his lisp and his effeminate
Hmm.
mannerisms. And then the hula hoop scene just broke my heart. I mean,
Uh,
I just want to
I feel
hug him.
like I know he's so cute. Like I feel
Mhm.
like that scene, his acting in that scene, which is so close to the beginning, it's one of the first, dialogue scenes that we get, and so it really does set the audience up to, feel sorry for him and to be on his side. And
Mhm.
I feel like the payoff at the end is so much better because Kodi does such a good job of getting you on his side at the beginning.
Yeah. What I also love about this performance is that look at his own nominees. Most of them are middlemen or old men or deadbeat. This is an example of a really perfect breakout performance. Even though he's young, he is acting alongside experienced and multi-awarded actors. And he's the one who walks away with the movie. He's a quiet cannonball. He observes everything around him and he carefully and meticulously plans or executes his revenge towards the very, very tricky. He's the trickiest character in the film because you never know what's going on inside his head. And for Kodi to pull that off at such a young age, that says a lot about his talent as a performer. I'd love to see more from him. If there is an indication that there's a star, this is the performance, right?
Yes, yes, yes. I totally agree. It's interesting because I think that he's definitely going to blow up after this either way. Um,
Mhm.
if he wins an Oscar, he's only like 24, 25, and he'll already
Yeah,
be an
he's younger
Oscar
than
winner, which
us.
is crazy.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, he is younger than us. So, um, it's going to open up doors either way. And I'm really excited to see kind of what else he can do. But I do want to say that I definitely agree with you that he really is able to hold his own with people who have been working for so long and are doing such amazing work. He falls along right in there with them, still giving one of the best performances of the year. And one thing that I was thinking about, so earlier you were saying that Troy Kotsur and Kodi Smit-McPhee are, they kind of benefit from having more screen time than everyone else in
And
this
art as
category.
well.
Do you think that is a reason why they're the two front runners in the
Well,
race right now?
Well, I think so because this is the supporting category, and because they're not the lead, you're given small moments to shine. And what happened to both Troy and Cody is that they're given a lot. Both were given challenging characters. Both nailed their performances excellently. But I think Cody has the more demanding character, and on an actor's point of view, the trickier one, the harder one to pull off, and he pulled it off brilliantly.
I agree. I think that's why maybe Cody seems to be the front runner, is because you don't really expect his performance to land the way that it does at the end. Whereas with Troy, even though he's great, it's kind of like what you see is what you get. You know what I mean? But Cody is just such a more like quiet, nuanced performance that by the end, since you weren't expecting it, it kind of has a bigger impact.
And because of that, he's in no choice but to, and the Oscar goes to. Ah, okay.
No choice but the Oscar goes to.
Yes. You know what? Because of Cody's performance, I think he's in line with Saoirse Ronan, Anya Taylor-Joy, Timothée Chalamet, and Lucas Hedges. I mean, I want to see a movie all about them.
And Florence Pugh.
Yeah, Florence Pugh as well. Yeah.
The the most talented people, mid-20s working right now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, I agree. You're right. He really does fall in that category because I always do put Lucas Hedges and Timothée Chalamet together. They're like in a club in my brain. But Kodi Smit-McPhee, you're right. He does
club too.
Go right along with it. Oh my God! Now I want a movie with Saoirse and Cody. Give Saoirse an Oscar, by the way. Don't get me started on that. But she's been robbed so many times already.
Yeah.
Now you got my hopes up. Like I can't focus on anything else until I get this movie.
Okay. So I like that so far we have a pretty strong build up when it comes to our nominees. And also if you notice, so far the ones that you have ranked, they are first time nominees.
Love it.
But we have an exception. So we have J.K. Simmons for being the Ricardos.
Yes, we do.
Aside from the fact that he's the only one who has been nominated before, he's the only Oscar winner for Whiplash. And unfortunately, he ends up the one being the most disappointing choice by the Academy in this lineup. Because being the Ricardos is all about Nicole Kidman as Lucy and to some extent Javier Bardem as Jesse. How about J.K. as William Frawley? I don't remember a good moment wherein I said to myself, he's going to get nominated for this. He's much more memorable in Spider-Man as Peter Parker's boss. And of course, the terrifying teacher in Whiplash. But here in Being the Ricardos, he's probably the one with the least screen time and he had no arc of his own.
Yeah, I love J.K. Simmons so much. Like, Spider-Man was my childhood. That's who I automatically associate him with, is J. Jonah Jameson. And then I thought that he was so incredible in Whiplash. Without a doubt, deserved to win an Oscar for that performance.
Yes.
With that being said, I really don't understand how this performance got nominated. All I remember is him. I've seen this movie twice now, and all I remember is him yelling at his female co-star, being mean to her. Like, what else did he do? What else did he do in this movie except for just be like a mean man to the people around him? Like, I don't want to see that get nominated. But since it's JK, it's like hard for me to be mad because I love him so much and he's such a good actor. But I'm gonna be mad at the Academy because this doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. Me too. I mean,
what were they thinking?
Yeah, what happened to the boys in West Side Story? We're going to fill this lineup, put Bernardo, put Riff in this lineup. What happened?
Yes, that would have been my pick.
Yeah.
Mike Face, I love him.
I mean, imagine Cody, Troy, Mike Face, and then the actor who played Bernardo and Jesse
Oh,
Plemons. What an amazing
yeah. Oh my
lineup.
God. Yes, David. Yeah. Oh my God. Please. Yeah, that would have been a serve.
To be honest, I don't really have much to say about JK. So I think this is a no-brainer. Why Academy?
Yeah,
Why?
totally.
Okay. All right. So compared
Wow.
compared to our first two rankings, this is pretty much evenly distributed. Like
Yeah, this is interesting.
there's one nominee per category. So now that we have done Best Supporting Actor, we're now proceeding to the Best Supporting Actress, and we begin with Jesse Plemons' co-star in I'm Thinking of Ending Things. We have the younger version of Olivia Colman's character in The Lost Daughter. We have Jesse Buckley. What do you think about Jesse Buckley here?
So I wasn't really familiar with Jessie Buckley until I saw this movie,
Mhm.
and I actually fell in love with her charisma. I think that something draws you to her when she's on the screen.
She has a
And I
magnetic
thought that
screen
she was
presence.
wonderful. Yes,
Mhm.
she really does. Like I immediately couldn't take my eyes off of her.
Mhm.
I just thought that she was amazing. Maybe a hot take, but I actually came out liking Jessie Buckley's performance more than Olivia Colman's performance in that
Oh my
movie.
God, really?
I really did. Yes, I really did.
We have the opposite.
I mean, I just think that there's so many emotions that she is going through because obviously we're witnessing the point in her life where she makes the decision to leave her family, and
Mhm.
like she's so messy and unlikable, and yet I feel like Jesse, shows so much like vulnerability, and it's such an unlikable character, but Jesse is still somehow making you engaged with her and rooting for her and wondering like what is this woman going to do next. Like there's just so many complexities in her performance. I feel like you can really feel her struggle trying to make a decision about what she wants to do, as
Mhm.
far as her family situation. I don't know. I
Yeah.
I just was really really drawn to her performance in this. I thought that she was very memorable and maybe a little bit underrated in this category.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know. What
mean,
did you think?
yeah, I agree also with what you've said. If the supporting actor category is filled with loving and supporting father or grandfather or father figures, then its female equivalent is also filled to the brim in the supporting actress category. What makes Jessie Buckley's character unique is that she's, as you mentioned, she's a mess and she's unapologetic in leaving her kids. I mean, what a character, right?
Yeah,
That immediately makes her so fascinating and mesmerizing to watch. This is a unique character, but I don't think I quite share the opinion that she gave the better performance than Olivia Colman because again, even though I didn't like the ending of the Lost Daughter, I think Olivia still carries the movie on her own. I mean, well, she's the lead, but I think it's still Olivia who lingered more than Jesse. Why do you think for you it's Jesse who walks away with the movie compared to Olivia?
I don't know. I think it's just because maybe it's because at the point where we see Olivia, she's already made the decision and she's just coping with it after so long and still unraveling from, obviously being in a situation that is mirroring the one that she was in the past. And that's what is kind of, bringing her to this point. But with
Mhm.
Jesse's performance, you're witnessing her dealing with all of these emotions in real time, and I think that Jessie has the tougher job where she is having to navigate all of this as opposed to Olivia, who
Yeah.
is just, has already settled in it and is just coping. Whereas with Jessie, she's, like I said, in real time making the decision to leave her family. And then the scene that really sticks out to me is the one where she goes back to see her daughters, and one of her daughters asks, like, will you braid my hair, or will you play with my hair or something? And
Mhm.
Jesse is just giving so much in that scene. Like you just see all of the sadness and regret, but also not. And she's, even trying to figure out if she regrets it. I just feel like I said, it's so complex. There's just so much
Yeah.
going on in this performance. Whereas Olivia is just screaming at, teenagers in a movie theater. Like I think that they are just such different performances. And they're both really good, but I just thought that Jessie had the harder job, and I think that she ultimately shined more.
Yeah.
But I also want to say, I think that Jessie did an amazing job of getting Olivia's mannerisms and her voice down. I truly believed that they were the same person. What did you think about the, one being older, one being younger? Did you think that that worked? Did you like, that it wasn't just, did you think that Olivia should have played both parts?
Mm.
You know what I mean?
To be honest, I think both actresses had this perfect symbiosis of forming Leila Caruso. Olivia did well on her part. Jessie did well on her part as well. And the scenes, most of them are flashbacks because, again, the present ones dominate compared to the past ones. The scenes concerning Jessie Buffy are really integral to the film because without them, we wouldn't understand where Olivia's characters are coming from.
Right.
Right? So, with that, just like Olivia, my gut feeling wants me to put Jessie in Slays.
Okay. I was scared you were gonna say had potential, so I will agree with Slays because she's not my pick for this category. She's actually not even my second pick.
Mm-hmm.
I would still be fine with her winning because I think that this is a pretty strong category overall.
Yes. Next, we go on to Ariana DeBose as Anita Del Carmen in West Side Story 2021, directed by Steven Spielberg. I've just had a rewatch of West Side Story like literally this morning. This afternoon.
Oh my god, I'm jealous.
I really love this version of West Side Story, and the main reason for that, aside from the Jets and the Sharks, is Ariana DeBose as Anita. I think one of the challenges faced by not only Steven Spielberg and the cast, and especially Ariana, is that the 1961 version is harder to compete with. It's unparalleled. It's in a league of its own. And not only does they have to compete with that honor and recognition, Rita Moreno, the original actress who played Anita in the 1961 version, is co-starring along as Ariana.
Right.
How do you think Ariana must have felt like acting alongside Rita in the film?
That's such a big task to take on. Obviously, it's a Best Picture winner. This is a Best Supporting Actress role. Literally has already won that award before, so it's some really big shoes to fill. But I think that Ariana did it. Okay. Here's the thing. So I had only ever seen her in the movie The Prom, and I was not really impressed by her performance in The Prom.
I haven't watched that film because of Ryan Murphy.
Yeah. So I honestly recommend it because it has Nicole Kidman and Meryl and Andrew Rannells. So I feel like it's worth it just to watch those three alone.
Okay.
You just have to deal with James Corden.
Oh my god.
Which is unfortunate. He's a pretty big part of the movie, so that's the biggest thing that holds me back from that movie. But to be honest, Ariana's performance is just not a standout in that movie. She's not giving a whole lot, and it's also the character. The character isn't the most exciting. But when I watched that movie when it first came out, I was not the most impressed. So when I heard that she got cast in this role, I was confused because I didn't feel like she showed anything in The Prom that would prove to me that she could pull this part off. And somehow she 100% did. After I watched this movie, I came out willingly eating my words that she couldn't play Anita. She was so good. I can't believe I ever doubted her. She has so much charisma. It's insane. Out of all of these performances, I think that hers stands out the most as being just the most energetic. It's probably the one that I remember the
she
most
has
out
the
of the
she
five.
Anita is the flashiest character out of all, not only in this category but in the supporting actor category as well.
Yeah, I agree.
It,
She's
mhm,
it's a very shiny performance,
yes,
but I mean, and literally colorful. Obviously, like I just think of her in that yellow dress, sashaying down the streets of New York, singing America.
yes,
But she also brings so much like depth. I don't want it to seem like I'm saying that she is just like all, shiny looks and nothing underneath, because there's so much like complexity
yes,
and depth, especially in the second half of that movie.
yeah.
So good. Her and Rachel Zegler's scene, what is it? I want, or what is the name of that
A boy
song?
like that.
It's
A boy like that.
Yes, 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 yes. A boy like that. Yes, yes. Oh my God. The two of them together, don't even get me started on Rachel Zegler not even really being in the best actress conversation, because she absolutely should have been. Just so, because like Rachel Zegler is a performance that I totally should have been nominated over those two performances that made it in. Like I truly believe that. It's so sad. But we're not talking about Rachel Zegler, so I
Yeah.
digress. But yes, I do think that Ariana was amazing. Like I said, I think that she just brings so much energy to the movie, and in a movie that has so many amazing performances, she still ends up being the standout, in my opinion.
Yes. Now, my take on Ariana's performance is that she is gifted with the best and well-written character in the film. She's the most rational and sensible. I'm not fan of the Romeo and Juliet love story, to be honest, because love at first sight is believable, but at the same time, it's also unbelievable. Don't you think? I mean,
Right?
do you immediately fall in love for a person the first time you meet him? Not necessarily attracted or
No.
infatuated, maybe, but fall in love? I don't think so. Because Anita is the moral compass of the film that ultimately makes her a badass. What I also love about Ariana here is that her performance is not a direct replicate or duplicate of Rita Moreno in 1961. They're different performances. You have the feeling that she didn't copy it. It's her own interpretation. This is what I was looking for the Belfast grandpa, and for Will Smith in King Richard. Here, you literally have uh, a character who's already been awarded before, Anita, and Ariana gives it a different flavor of her own.
Yes.
However, I think that it's inevitable that the 1961 and 2021 versions are compared, and that's also the same with Rita and Ariana's performances. Because at the end of the day, I still think that Rita Moreno gave the definitive Anita. You know, I mean, the energy, the fire, uh, the awesomeness, the badassery. Rita Moreno gave that in 1961, and it's hard to surmount or surpass that achievement or accomplishment. I mean, there's a reason why Rita Moreno is a legend. So
Right.
no matter how fantastic Ariana is, unfortunately, she's overshadowed by Rita's interpretation before. No,
Right.
but
And
I don't want to be hard on her because this is really a fantastic performance. It reminds me of Andrew Garfield in Tick Tick Boom. She's a triple
mhm.
threat. She can act,
They're
she can
very
sing, she
similar.
can dance.
Yes.
Yeah, very
Yes.
very similar. So given that, I think she's Lace. She's literally the definition of Lace for me. I would have given her the Oscar as well, but I think there's another actress here who far deserves it more. What do you think?
Yes. Yeah, I agree with Slay. She's my number two
She's my
in
number two
this
as well.
category. And but the thing is, so because I saw this movie in theaters when it first came out, 2 months ago, so it hasn't been that long. And her performance has stuck out in my mind as the thing that I remember most. But I haven't been able to rewatch this movie yet, and so I've really been going back and forth trying to decide if she would be my number one or my number two, because I really was so enthralled by her performance when I got out of the theater. I kept saying, she's my pick for the Oscar, but after seeing, my number one, I've seen her performance 4 times now, and she's kind of moved up to my number one just because I've been able to dissect her performance more. So, my opinion could change whenever West Side Story. It's coming to Disney Plus here in America next week. So I'm gonna probably watch the movie 100 times and like really, really focus on everything that's going on. But
Okay.
for now, I'm gonna leave her as my number two, and
Yeah,
I'll say that
and
she's Liz.
just Lace. No question about that. And now let's move to an acting legend. We have an eighth-time Oscar nominee. This is her eighth nomination. We have Judi Dench. Um,
Judy with an I.
yeah. Um, what about this performance?
So it's just so interesting because obviously I feel like the big thing here is that everyone expected Katrina Balfe to be the one who was nominated here. She was the one
Yeah.
who was getting all the precursor nominations. She hadn't missed anything yet. And then
Mhm.
somehow she misses this and Judi Dench gets nominated in her spot.
Mhm.
But I feel like this was just like one of those kind of lazy nominations where
Tribute,
it's just
tribute
they saw her
nominations.
name. Yes, exactly. Like they saw, oh, Judi Dench is in a movie, and they
Mhm.
just kind of pencil her in
And
without
then that's
really
it.
taking anyone else into consideration.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, she's fine. You know, we love Miss Judy. Go off, Judy. She's always good. You know, she won an
But
Oscar for literally 7 minutes of screen time before,
yeah,
so like obviously she's a legend and a queen,
but
literally in Shakespeare in Love, but
her performance is not remarkable and not outstanding as well.
no, it's
Because
not outstanding or remarkable at all.
yeah, because just like her film husband, the Belfast grandpa, Belfast grandma doesn't really have a lot to do, and her character
No.
isn't saying a lot as well. But I like Belfast grandpa more than the Belfast grandma because at least
Yes.
the Belfast grandpa has much more screen time. He has a more intimate and closer relationship with the boy who played Buddy compared
Hmm.
to Belfast grandma. To be honest, I don't really have much to say about this. So right off the bat,
No.
why Academy? Why?
Yeah, I agree. One thing I will say, and I think that this might be a reason that she got nominated, is because she is the ending of that movie. And that's the part that sticks out to me the most of the whole movie is that ending on her face. And I just remember being so sad, you know, because obviously, spoiler alert, you know, they're leaving. Her husband has died. She's being left behind, you know, all by herself. And that impacted me. Like, I came out of that movie feeling so sad for her character at the end. I'm just saying, like, I felt like when I came out of that movie, that I felt bad for her character, and the
Mhm.
movie literally ends on her face. So I think that that's
Yeah.
part of the reason that she ended up getting the nomination instead is just because she, you know, she's the focus of the very end. So that's what stuck out in my mind at the end of the movie, and that's probably what happened with voters as well. Even
Mm.
though I think that Katrina deserves the nomination more for sure.
Mhm.
You know, Judy
So
just has all those other things going for her.
so we agree that this nomination is more of like sentimentality rather than merit.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Okay. So are you fine with her in Why Academy? Why?
Yes, yes, yes. Put her at the bottom. Sorry, Judy.
Okay.
We
I
love
know.
you.
Yeah.
Don't
But
take it personal.
yeah. She already has one. I don't think she would take it personally.
No. And she has so many nominations. Like for her,
Yeah.
it's sad because for her, this is just another day. Whereas for like
Mhm.
Katrina, like this would have opened so many doors for her and probably
Yeah.
changed her life.
You know
And
what?
you know, Judy didn't need this nomination.
Yeah. You know what? What's interesting about Judi Dench? She got her first nomination at the age of 60 something. Imagine that, getting first nomination at 60 something and then getting seven more. Who
That's
does that?
insane.
Who does that? Right?
Yeah.
Knowing how the Hollywood industry prefers older men than older women, she's a badass, but not in this movie, unfortunately. Okay,
Not a
so
badass.
speaking of badass, we have Kirsten Dunst, and after experiencing so much heartbreak in Peter the Spider and Spider-Man,
God.
she's worrying about her son Peter here in The Power of the Dog. What can you say about Kirsten Dunst and her performance here?
Listen, I could go on and on about Kirsten Dunst forever. I have been enthralled with this woman since 5-year-old me watched Bring It On for the first time.
Mhm.
Literally at 5 years old, like I had the VHS tape of Bring It On, and I would rewind the dances over and over again so that I could learn them. And I would just be sitting in my bedroom, like dancing along, learning the very first opening scene. And then of course Spider-Man. Like, don't even get me started on Miss Mary Jane. Like, she was my childhood. So I've been such a fan for so long, and it's crazy to me that she is just now getting her first nomination
That's
when she's been
outrageous.
doing such amazing work for so long. Like, oh, she's
Mhm.
so good.
You know
But
why?
why?
Because most of her stuff is in indie movies or independent films. That's probably the reason why he's not as illustrious career compared to, let's say, Meryl Streep and the acting legends.
Right.
Most of Kirsten Dunst films are, I'm not saying inaccessible, but less viewable to the general audience.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of sad. And speaking of Bring It On, I read an article that one interviewer asked why Kristen Dunst just garnered most of her nominations pretty late in her career. And I think she started early and now she's getting artistic recognition pretty late in her career. And she said that one of the, I don't know if it's a fan or a co-star or maybe a naysayer, probably not a fan, but one of the reasons why she thinks she hasn't had an award yet or a nomination yet is because she's just the girl who starred in Bring It On. I mean, how
Mm-hmm.
sad that was, right? How heartbreaking. She's been doing so many good movies. I mean, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Marie Antoinette, Melancholia. I mean, all of them
Go
were
on and
snubbed.
on. Fargo.
All of them,
Like,
yeah,
she's
Fargo.
so good.
And she lost to Lady Gaga in American Horror Story Hotel for that. I mean, why?
Yeah.
It's pretty sad. Okay.
Oh,
So,
Gaga.
yeah. So
That's
speaking
funny.
of,
Well, now she got the last laugh here at the Oscars over Gaga. So
well, I think it's Kirsten Stewart who got the more laughs.
that is
Probably.
very true.
Or
Kristen
her
gets the
fans.
last laugh,
Yeah.
especially when she wins.
The Kristen and the Kirsten got the last
Yes,
laugh.
the queens, like
Yeah,
literally
yeah,
my
yeah.
two queens.
Okay.
It's
Now,
making me emotional.
speaking of Rose Gordon, so again, the Academy likes suffering and supportive mothers and wives, and Rose Gordon is no exception to that roster. And what I love about Kirsten Dunst here, it's not all just about tears and screaming. It's all about screaming internally. You know what I mean?
Right.
She's a volcano.
Yes.
She's ready to explode at the right moment. She's a quiet cannonball and she's already experiencing, well, probably she's experienced it even before the movie started, existential crisis, because she's a widow. She doesn't know how to navigate her own life and her son as well. Her son is a homosexual, and probably that alone makes their reputation tainted or tarnished. And then Phil thinks that she married his brother George just for money. And because of Phil's constant machinations pushing her over the edge, she becomes alcoholic to the point that she almost lost herself. And that's the reason why Kodi Smit-McPhee saved and resurrected her. You know, she's been through a lot. And I understand that she doesn't play an active role in the family because women in that era are supposed to be submissive and their husband. That's why she feels lost and incomplete without the presence of a man. But at the same time, when you watch her and Jesse Plemons in their relationship, she's the one who makes him feel good as well. She's the one who makes him feel protected and above all else, feel love. You remember the scene where she's talking to Peter and then she's sprinkling some sugar cubes, probably
Yes,
salt,
that's my that
everywhere.
is yes, her acting in that scene is the Oscar winning acting to me. Like,
Yeah,
that
and
is the Oscar scene.
yeah, I also felt for Rose because she doesn't deserve that kind of treatment and lifestyle, especially from Phil. And at the end of the day, she gets rescued. Her baddest and unforgettable moment comes when about the hide, right? What can you say about Kirsten Dunst here?
I just, like you said, it's not the most showy performance, and it's very understated and it's very subtle, and that's clearly on purpose. Like, she could scream and yell in some of these moments, I'm sure, if she wanted to,
Mhm.
but that's not really in Rose's nature. And Kirsten decided to play the character a different way, and I'm glad about that. I
Mhm.
love the arc that we watch Rose go through where she's so timid and meek at the
Yeah,
beginning. She's just a really great mom to her son. We see that when she's complimenting the flowers that he made. I don't know, like, so she's like, starts off so, like I said, timid and nice. And then by the end, she has just completely unraveled into this mess. Just like, it's so good just to see, she's obviously like drinking more and more, and I feel like Kirsten just does little things to show you just how much more over the edge Rose has gone in every scene that we see her. Like, she just seems a little more unhinged than the time before, until we get to the point where she decides to make a change for her life, and she sells the hides because she's tired of being intimidated by Phil. And and she finally gets the courage to do something to fight back and take control of her situation. I love that so much for her, that she finally gets to that point where she is able to have a little bit of agency in
yeah.
all this drama that's going on in her life.
As the film,
So I just don't see how people could say it's a boring performance, because I
no,
feel like she's
it's
doing
not.
so much,
Hmm. Yeah,
especially
as
like
the
the end when she sells the hide and she gets the gloves. I love that scene so much. I think that she is perfect in that scene.
yeah, I mean, as the film progresses, she evolves into a strong, independent, and not to mention a multi-dimensional character.
Hmm.
And even
Very.
though it's not the flashiest of the five, I'll give the win to her hands down. It's a tough competition between her and Ariana. And
Hmm.
I give the edge to Kirsten because a lot of people have already given different interpretations to a suffering and supportive mother, and Kirsten Dunst gave another dimension to it. So she's my pick, hands down.
Yes.
No,
Yeah, she's my pick as well. Um, I just think that she's doing so much here. I would really love to see this performance win, because I feel like a lot of times they don't always go with the more understated performance. It usually is the showier performance that wins. And so it's kind of,
the
you know,
loudest performance.
yeah, exactly. And it here, Ariana is very bold and loud and energetic, and then we have Kirsten, who's so subdued and quiet. And I feel like it's kind of between the two of them, anyways, for the
Yeah.
Oscars. So, this is an example of which one will the Academy go with this time around.
I
Hopefully,
think a
it's
lot.
Kirsten. But
Yeah.
I'm fine with either, or
Yeah,
Jesse
yeah,
Buckley.
me
Any
too.
of those three, I'm
Okay.
good.
I think a lot of people have to pay attention to Kirsten Dunst in the film. It's not a boring performance at all.
Can't be on your phone. You have to
Yeah,
be
just
watching her.
well, unless you're watching using the phone, but
Right, right,
but
right.
what
That's the
I
only way, though.
yeah, but what I mean is that you have to pay attention because these little details that Kirsten Dunst gave to her character. If you're not really paying attention, you're going to miss them.
Exactly.
We're giving her the supporting actress Oscar.
Oh, I would love to hear those
Mother and
words. And the
son,
Oscar goes
mother
to.
and son.
Oh my
Imagine
God! Please.
we gave
Oh,
the
that would be iconic if they
we,
won. Oh my God!
we gave the acting trophies to the mother and son against their enemy.
Wow. We love to see it.
But let's not forget our final nominee. We have Anjana Ellis and King Richard. Speaking of King Richard, we've already talked about King Richard in Will Smith's performance. And again, Anjana Ellis's character, nicknamed Brandy, she also falls into one of not really suffering, but more of the loving and supportive mother. I like that even though the film is not interested to explore her, she wants to be explored. That's why her fight scenes with Will Smith are one of the highlights of the film, aside from the tennis competitions and tennis matches, of course, because she's rarely seen, she's rarely heard, she rarely participates in when it comes to the careers of her daughters. She insinuates herself. She ingratiates herself to be involved in the family drama, something that neither the film nor probably Richard Williams is, well, in the movie version, is interested to do about her, you know? And part of that
Hmm.
is because of Anjanu Ellis's energy, but at the same time, as much as I like her being proactive despite the stock nature of the character. I think that again, that the nature of the character is putting her down as well. Because again, it's not the most original, it's not the most creative, it's can only be enlivened by a great performance. And while Angela Ellis gives a hell of a performance, unfortunately, it's not enough to be considered a total package or for me to give her the win. What about you?
Yes, so I think that she is so fierce in this role. I actually really, really like this performance, and I think that she maybe should get a little more credit than she seems to be getting. I think it's just because it's such a long movie, and her character doesn't have, a lot of scenes. It really is Will Smith's movie, so
Yeah.
I think that he kind of just like towers over every other performance in that film. But I think that when she is on screen, she is holding her own against Will Smith, which is hard to do in the first place.
Yes.
And sometimes I think that she outacts him. So
Yeah,
those fight
especially
scenes,
when
like
they're
you said, they
fighting.
are the highlight. Yes,
Especially
those
when they're
were
fighting.
the best parts of the movie to me were the scenes where they were fighting because she was electric. I thought
And
that she just brought such an interesting energy to the movie.
and
So like I said, she's just so fierce.
yeah, and more often than not, I am on her side compared to her husband's side because
100%.
she's smart.
Yes, I loved her so much.
Mhm.
I don't think that she obviously is really the standout in this category, but I feel like even I wouldn't even be upset if she won this Oscar. Like I think that she could even be giving a good enough performance to deserve a win. So I don't know. I just really, really liked her. I was surprised how much I came away thinking that thinking about her performance in this
But
movie.
but as much as we like her, I don't think she slays as much as Ariana or Jessie do.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Anjan slays, but her performance doesn't. So I think
Yeah,
she has potential.
yeah,
Had she been given more to do, had she been more active in the lives of her children, she would have made it to the slays category.
yes.
What
I
about you?
think that she basically it's like the same as Jesse Plemons. Like they
Mhm.
both gave really, really solid performances, and if their characters had more to do, then they could probably be moved up into a higher tier. But with what we have, it's just they're not given enough to make a statement to be able to get all the way up there.
All right. So compared to the best supporting actor category, wherein we have one actor per tier. Here we have two actresses battling in the second and the third position. We have Ariana and Jessie. So for me, it's still Ariana because again, she's the livelier, bouncier, more energetic for me. I mean, Jessie is in a league of her own as well, but between her, it's Ariana. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think that Ariana's performance stands out more. It's the one that people are going to remember more at the end of the day.
Yes.
So I agree that she should be in front of Jesse for sure.
Okay, so now that we have done ranking the nominees based on their categories, let's rank the performances based on the tiers. So for Y Academy Y, who do you want to put above one another?
I feel like Judi should go on top of JK. Oh, I
Me
didn't.
too, because JK just shouted in the film and that's it.
Yeah. I mean, he did nothing. Like, no, I'm sorry, but this is one
This
of the
is
worst nominations of all time.
this is a watered down version of his character in Spider-Man series. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
100%. And way
Yeah.
less likable.
Yeah. Now, so for head potential,
Personally, probably put Ingenue in front of Jesse. I think that to me, her performance is more memorable than his is.
oh, you know what? I think you're right because it's Kirsten who is more active in their love story.
hmm He's literally just there to be nice. Like,
Yeah.
I, I love, like I said, I love him, but I mean, Ingenue, I think, has a little more agency. She's the one who's going after King Richard, telling him what's up. You don't make
Okay.
all the decisions about my kids. Whereas,
Okay.
you know, Jesse's character is a pushover and just kind of does whatever.
Okay. I agree with you with this one. I put Angelo above Jesse.
Love it. We love to hear it.
Yeah. So now we have, oh my god, the most
Okay,
populated here. So as much as Jessie slays, I think she's right there in her spot.
I agree.
Okay, so I think you know who will be the number one in this tier.
Ooh, I would probably say Ariana, just
Mhm.
because I'm such a musical theater person, and she really is a triple threat, doing so much in this movie.
Okay,
I think it's close. Like if we put Troy above Ariana, I'm not
it's
going
fine as
to
well.
fight
Mhm.
it,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
personally, I would prefer to have Ariana over Troy.
Oh my god,
Oh,
it's
well,
hard to compare the mother and son. Both of them excelled in their jobs.
right.
Both are outstanding. I mean, both are winners in their respective categories. But I really have a soft spot for Peter. How about you?
I I don't know because obviously I love Peter, but I think I'm just always inclined to like women more. And since I loved Kirsten for so long, I think that I just am so obsessed with her that my heart says to put her first. I think that she's giving a little like I feel like her performance is giving a little bit more layers than his does. Like I feel like she kind of has some more peaks and valleys, whereas his is very like controlled, calculated, whereas
Hmm.
hers is all over the place. And I think
Yeah.
that she's having to do a little bit more. So I think I would say Kirsten, but like I said, I'm fine with. I
You
think
know
that they're
what?
both really good.
You know what? Why don't we call it a tie? After all, they're mother and son. It's hard to
Okay,
separate the two. Okay. So we'll call it
I'm
a
fine with
tie
that.
between Cody and Kristen. Wow.
Okay,
That's it.
icons.
So once again, I'm Jude and it's Wes from Pretty Pumpkins. Thank you all for listening and let's see you probably next week for the ranking of the best picture nominees. Bye bye.
Bye.